The silent tests that reveal a woman's true character, psychology tricks. The measure of love is not when you find someone who talks the most, but when you find someone whose silence speaks volumes. Anonymous. In relationships, truth often hides in quiet corners, not in the dazzling beginnings. Too many men discover the reality of a woman's character only after years have slipped away, after the charm of sweet words, soft touches, and glittering promises has faded. Real love is never proven in moments of passion or grand declarations. It shows itself in silence, in how she behaves when there's no audience, in how she treats you when you have nothing material to offer, and in whether she stands beside you when the spotlight dims. Men between 35 and 70 understand this more than anyone. Life has seasoned them with heartbreak, divorce, or disappointment. Looking back, they often realize the signs were always there, disguised beneath flattery, overlooked in the rush of emotion, or ignored out of hope. The heart led, reason stayed quiet, and years later the painful truth arrived. If only I had paid attention earlier. This message isn't meant to turn you into a cynic or to make you suspicious of every woman you meet. It is a call to awareness. Relationships carry silent tests, invisible yet undeniable. When you learn to notice them, you stop confusing manipulation for love. Genuine love never thrives on guilt or power games. It grows in trust, loyalty, and quiet consistency. Recognizing these subtle truths protects not just your future, but also your dignity, peace of mind, and self-worth. And that, more than anything, is the foundation of a life well-loved and well-lived. 1. How she treats you when she doesn't need anything. One of the most revealing silent tests in female psychology is simple: how she treats you when she doesn't need anything from you. This is where the mask often slips. In the beginning, many women shine bright, offering attention, affection, and sweet gestures because the game of attraction is fresh. But psychology tricks remind us that early charm is not always authentic. It can be a performance, a carefully crafted display designed to win your approval. The true test comes later when the spotlight fades and there's no applause to chase. That is when her real character emerges. Don't be fooled by the glamour of the first few weeks. Don't mistake performance for permanence. Be wise enough to observe when the benefits are gone. Imagine you hit a rough season in life. You can't afford expensive restaurants or luxury surprises. Suddenly, you're down to simple meals, maybe a sandwich on a park bench, or a quiet walk instead of a grand night out. That is the moment her heart speaks louder than her words. Does she sit beside you with the same smile, enjoying the simplicity of your company? Or does her warmth evaporate, replaced by distance, irritation, or cold silence? The truth is, when you have nothing material to offer, you hold in your hands the purest mirror of her soul. A woman who truly loves you doesn't measure you by your wallet, but by your presence. She values your laugh, your conversation, your shared dreams. That is what reveals how to fall in love the right way with someone who loves you for you, not for what you provide. On the other hand, a woman who is only in the game for self-interest will show her cards the second the perks vanish. She will withdraw affection, withhold her energy, and act as though you have lost your worth. Don't ignore this sign. Don't rationalize her absence. Be strong enough to face the truth. Female psychology has layers, but this test is brutally simple. Watch her when you are down, and you will know who she really is. Some men learn this too late, after years of being drained by someone who never truly cared. Don't let that be your story. You must train your eyes to see beyond the surface. That is the discipline of understanding psychology tricks, not to manipulate, but to protect yourself from manipulation. Real love doesn't shrink in scarcity, it thrives in it. Real love laughs at the storm and finds joy even when the feast is gone. So pay attention. When you strip away the glamour, you see the truth. That is the moment of clarity, the crossroads where you decide whether to stay or walk away. Be decisive, be honest, be brave enough to accept what she reveals in silence, because in those unguarded moments, you don't just discover her character, you also discover your worth. 2. Her attitude when you fail. Success has a way of pulling people towards you, friends, admirers, even women. When you're winning, it feels like the whole world wants to sit at your table. But failure, that's the great divider. That's the ultimate test of loyalty. Anyone can love you when you're standing tall, but what happens when you stumble? When your career stops shining or when life drops you to your knees, pay close attention. Because in those moments, her reaction will tell you more about her true character than 1,000 sweet words ever could. One man told the story of losing his job after 20 years of hard work. Overnight, the woman he believed loved him changed. Her once soft encouragement turned into sharp criticism. Instead of lifting him up, she compared him to other successful men. The same lips that once whispered affection began to spit judgment. That is the brutal reality many men face. The mask slips when the money dries up. But a woman of genuine heart is different. She won't abandon you when the storm comes. She may not be able to solve every problem, but she will stand by you. She'll remind you of your worth, your potential, and your masculine energy even when you can't see it yourself. Don't ignore the signs. If she uses your weakness as a weapon, if she belittles you when you're vulnerable, you must wake up. True love doesn't vanish in the storm, it becomes the shelter. It doesn't run when the world collapses, it builds a fire and stays. Be the high-value man who sees beyond appearances. Don't be blinded by smiles that only shine in sunshine. Look for the woman who can walk with you in the dark. Understand this. A relationship only has meaning if both partners can walk through the fire together. If she's only present when the champagne is flowing and the spotlight is bright, then her love was never real. It was just a temporary contract of convenience. Real love is revealed in the trenches, not at the top of the mountain. That is the psychology trick of life. Hardship strips away illusions and shows you who is truly for you. As a grown man, you've likely learned that beauty fades, passion cools, and charm can deceive. But loyalty is priceless. It is the one quality that separates a woman who truly loves you from one who only loves what you can provide. Don't mistake admiration for what you have with admiration for who you are. A woman who believes in you when you fail is the one who will multiply your victories when you rise again. That is how you attract women of substance, by holding yourself with masculine energy, even in defeat, and demanding the same integrity in return. You must be ruthless with this test. Don't rationalize her coldness. Don't excuse her absence. Don't cling to a woman who abandons you in your weakest hour. Because if she leaves you when you're down, she doesn't deserve you when you're up. A high-value man doesn't beg for loyalty, he observes. He tests, and he decides. This is not about paranoia. It is about clarity. Failure is not the end. Failure is the forge. It burns away false friends, fake supporters, and conditional lovers. And what remains is real. If she stands with you in the ashes, then she is worth building with. If she walks away, let her go. Be grateful the test revealed the truth early, before you wasted more years. Remember, gentlemen, women test men all the time, often in silence, but life also tests women through you. Watch carefully, be decisive, protect your heart like the treasure it is. Don't give it to someone who only shows up in the sunshine. Real love is proven in the storm. 3. Her reaction to your freedom. Freedom is one of the ultimate silent tests in a relationship, and how a woman reacts to your freedom tells you more about her character than 1,000 sweet words ever could. Men between 35 and 70 already know the weight of this truth, because after years of living, failing, and learning, you realize that your time and your space are not luxuries, they are lifelines. A man needs freedom to breathe, to think, to focus on personal goals, to pursue hobbies that sharpen his iron mind, and to bond with friends who keep him grounded. Old Stoic wisdom teaches us that man conquers the world by conquering himself, and that means you cannot surrender your independence just to keep peace in a relationship. The reaction you get when you claim your freedom is a mirror held up to her soul. A mature woman, a woman of strength, understands this instinctively. She encourages you to take that fishing trip, to join your friends for the game, or to spend the night in the garage working on a project that excites you. She says with a smile, "Have fun, I'll see you later," because she knows that freedom doesn't weaken love, it strengthens it. But a controlling or insecure woman, she plays a different game. She sighs, sulks, and whispers the poisonous line, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't leave." That is not affection. That is not romance. That is emotional blackmail. Don't be fooled. Don't let guilt become the leash that strangles your spirit. Seneca, one of the great Stoics, once said, "A man who submits to fear will never be free." Remember that when someone tries to use guilt as a weapon against your independence. In modern life, this silent test is everywhere. Maybe you want to attend a business retreat, start a fitness routine that takes you out of the house, or spend a Saturday morning on the golf course. The right woman celebrates that because she knows an independent man returns with more energy, more confidence, and more love. But the wrong woman will see every moment you spend away from her as betrayal. That's not partnership, that's possession. And possession always kills love in the end. Freedom does not destroy intimacy, it purifies it. Two free people standing side by side create a bond stronger than chains, while two prisoners trapped together create only resentment. That is Stoicism win. Building a relationship where respect and independence coexist, where two iron minds grow stronger without suffocating each other. You must remember, your freedom is not a gift you beg for. It is a right you must defend. Do not negotiate with manipulation. Do not reward emotional blackmail. If she constantly suffocates you, demanding that you abandon your individuality, you are not in love, you are being owned. That is not a test you can afford to fail. Protect your freedom as fiercely as you protect your integrity, because once you lose it, you lose yourself. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's the ultimate lesson. Real love does not fear freedom, it thrives on it. So be decisive, be bold, stand firm, claim your space without apology. The right woman will admire your strength, and in return, you will admire hers. That is how love becomes unbreakable, not in chains, but in choice. That is how an iron mind prevails. That is how old Stoic wisdom becomes your shield and weapon in modern relationships. And that is how you win, not just in love, but in life. If this lesson opened your eyes, make sure to like this video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more psychology tricks and wisdom on female psychology and relationships. Remember, freedom doesn't kill love. It makes it stronger. Comment below to lock this truth into your mind. Freedom strengthens my love. 4. Words versus actions. Words are cheap, but actions are priceless, and if you want to understand female psychology, you must master this truth. Anyone can say, "I love you," but not everyone can live it out in the moments that truly matter, because the silent test between words and actions is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can apply when trying to see a woman's real character. And this test will also reveal whether she understands what it really means to love you, or whether she is just playing a role until something better comes along. And you, as a man between 35 and 70, cannot afford to ignore it. Watch closely. She might whisper, "You mean everything to me?" Yet when you come home drained after a brutal day at work, instead of giving you comfort, she brushes you off, grabs her phone, and leaves you alone with your exhaustion. Those actions speak louder than 1,000 words, because her behavior betrays the emptiness behind her promises, and that is where you must be vigilant. She may swear that she values your presence, but if she consistently cancels plans at the last minute, always prioritizing her friends, her coworkers, or her social media image over time with you, then the reality is brutal. Her words are decoration, her actions are truth, and you must believe the truth no matter how sweet the lie may sound. On the other hand, a genuine woman might never be a poet or a smooth talker, but her actions are steady, consistent, and filled with care. You get sick, she shows up with tea and soup without being asked. You travel for work, she texts you not just to say, I miss you, but to share small details of her day, weaving you into her life even when you are far away. You talk about your childhood, your mistakes, or even boring details of your job, and she listens with patient attention. Because for her, love is not about performance, but about presence. Don't be fooled by charm, by glamorous words, or by a mask she wears in public, because actions never lie. And if you fail this test, you risk falling into the trap of investing years in someone who was never truly with you. That is why understanding female psychology is not about memorizing pickup lines or learning how to fall in love quickly. It's about slowing down, watching her, testing silently, and letting her behavior reveal her true self, because only then will you know whether you are building a bond or wasting your time. You must remember, words can disguise reality for a season, but when pressure comes, when stress hits, when your value to her is stripped away, her actions will show whether she truly stands with you or only stood with what you could give her. Don't ignore it, don't excuse it, and don't explain it away, because a woman's real love is not written in her texts or spoken in her vows. It is proven in her behavior when no one is looking. Real men pay attention to this test, and high-value men never settle for a woman whose words shine but whose actions are hollow, because in her behavior lies the truth, and the truth will set you free. 5. How she talks about others. A high-value man must never ignore this silent test. How a woman talks about people when they're not around. It's not small talk. It's not harmless gossip. It's a mirror reflecting her inner world. If her tongue drips with venom toward her friends, colleagues, or family, don't fool yourself into thinking you'll be exempt. That is self-deception. That is blindness. If she tears them down today, she'll shred you tomorrow. Words are weapons, and how she uses them shows whether she's guided by kindness or by bitterness. Picture the scene. You're sitting across from her at dinner, expecting warmth and connection. But instead of laughter, the night is filled with harsh judgments. Her fake friends, her lazy coworkers, her selfish relatives. The food might be delicious, but the air feels poisoned. That's not charm. That's a warning. Don't dismiss it. Don't excuse it. If she can't show basic respect to those closest to her, what makes you think you're different? One day, when her frustration turns, you'll be the one she cuts down behind closed doors. By contrast, a woman of integrity holds her tongue with grace. She doesn't need to sugarcoat reality, but she also doesn't need to destroy someone's dignity. She may disagree, she may critique, but she won't marinate every sentence in bitterness. That is the difference between a woman who lifts the room with her presence and one who darkens it. True feminine strength is revealed not in the spotlight, but in those casual, private moments when no one else is keeping score. The truth is blunt. How she describes others in their absence is how she'll describe you in yours. Genuine kindness is not a performance, it's a lifestyle. A woman who honors others, even in small conversations, has a heart that can honor you. A woman who needs to drag people down just to feel taller exposes her insecurity, not her strength. You must pay attention. Don't ignore the red flags because the smile is pretty or the chemistry feels electric. Masculine energy demands discernment. A high-value man understands this test. He doesn't get blinded by flattery or distracted by charm. He listens between the lines. He knows that to attract women of quality, he must first guard his own standards. That's what separates men who are played from men who lead. To be respected, you must first respect yourself enough to walk away when her words reveal a toxic pattern. This is one of those psychology tricks life throws at you. It looks small, but it's everything. You don't need a PhD in female psychology to see it. Just sit, listen, and let her speech reveal her spirit. The lesson is simple but profound. Don't be seduced by surface beauty while ignoring the character underneath. Because beauty fades, passion cools, but character is permanent. And a man who values his life, his peace, and his future must never gamble on a woman who can't speak well of others. Be firm, be wise, be the high-value man who attracts women with his standards, not his desperation. That is masculine energy in action. That is how you protect yourself from years of wasted time, broken trust, and invisible wounds. The silent test is right there at the table. The question is, will you pass it or will you pretend not to hear? And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. 6. Her behavior. When she holds power. Don't ignore this test. When a woman holds the upper hand, more money, higher status, louder social influence, the way she uses it tells you everything you need to know about the future you're walking into. Nearly all men can stand adversity, Abraham Lincoln observed, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. The same applies here. Power reveals, power magnifies, power unmasks. In modern life, that power might look like a higher paycheck, a strong personal brand online, a network that opens doors, or the ability to sway a room with a joke at your expense. Watch closely. Does she use that position to protect, to praise, to partner? Or does she use it to posture, to pressure, to punish? Don't rationalize disrespect as humor. Don't excuse public cuts as she's just being playful. That is not partnership. That is hierarchy. You must draw the line. A woman of integrity shares her strength. She doesn't weaponize it. She introduces you with pride, not with a punchline. She invests in your goals without comparing salaries. She debates in private and defends in public. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, Lord Acton warned. And in relationships, the early signs are subtle. Keeping score, reminding you who paid, hinting that her friends are a level above yours, steering every plan to her advantage, withholding affection to win arguments. Remember the old Stoic wisdom: control what you can, observe what you must, and refuse to be owned by outcomes. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus Aurelius wrote. Realize this, and you build an iron mind that no status game can bend. Let's bring it to daily life. At dinner, does she thank the server and treat staff with warmth when nothing is to be gained? As the proverb says, the true measure of a person is how they treat someone who can do nothing for them. Notice whether she listens when you speak, not just when you praise her. Notice whether success softens her or makes her sharp. Notice whether disagreement triggers dialogue or domination. Test gently and early. Set a boundary. Say no to a minor request. Choose a plan that favors your growth one weekend. If the response is mature, respect, curiosity, negotiation, you're seeing character. If the response is manipulation, guilt, mockery, silent treatment, you're seeing control. Don't negotiate for basic respect. Don't beg for decency. That is the price of admission, not a perk. You must act like the guardian of your future self. Here's the playbook, grounded in Old Stoic wisdom and built for modern reality. First, adopt mission-first living, goals, health, craft, brotherhood. When your life has direction, status games lose their grip. That is Stoicism win in practice. Second, insist on mutual visibility. The same warmth in public as in private, the same tone when she's ahead as when she's behind. Third, document patterns, not moments. One sharp joke is noise. A monthly roast is data. Fourth, enforce consequences. State the standard once, then act. An iron mind expresses itself through calm boundaries, not loud speeches. Fifth, watch the arc of power over time. Does her success enlarge the we or shrink you into the role of grateful sidekick. Don't confuse convenience with commitment. Don't mistake access for affection. You must remember that the person who loves you protects your dignity, especially when she could get away with not protecting it. Let's be clear. Relationships aren't battlefields for control. They are training grounds for character. When two strong people unite, power becomes provision, not pressure. Leadership becomes service, not superiority. That is the path where Old Stoic wisdom meets practical love, where Stoicism win looks like two adults sharing credit, sharing decisions, and sharing joy. If you're seeing the opposite, ranking, ridiculing, rationing, step back, reassess, reset, or release. Build an iron mind that chooses respect over drama, standards over status, and a future over fleeting approval. You must act now with clarity. You must choose a partner who uses power to lift, not to lord. Do this, and you don't just survive love, you master life. 7. How she handles small conflicts. A grown man must understand one brutal truth about relationships. The way a woman handles small conflicts reveals her entire blueprint for how she will handle the storms of life. And ignoring this silent test is one of the costliest mistakes a man can make. Don't be fooled by sweetness in good times, because true character does not show itself when she is smiling in candlelight dinners, but when she feels neglected, when she doesn't get her way, when she feels the sting of delay or disappointment. That is where female psychology is uncovered in raw form. For example, imagine you forget to reply to her message right away. Does she calmly ask if you were busy? Or does she explode with accusations like, "You don't care about me"? When you disagree about something as trivial as what movie to watch, does she laugh, compromise, and find common ground? Or does she punish you with cold silence until you break? Don't underestimate these small reactions. A mature woman uses conflict as a tool to deepen intimacy. She speaks with clarity, listens with patience, and resolves with respect. But a manipulator weaponizes conflict, turning every disagreement into a battlefield where the only outcomes are your surrender or her punishment. Be aware, psychology tricks are not always flashy. They are often hidden in everyday arguments. This is why you must train yourself to observe not just her words, but her patterns. Don't just hear what she says, watch how she fights, how she forgives, and how she treats you when you fail to meet her expectations. That is female psychology at its clearest. If she cannot handle a small argument with dignity, she will unleash chaos when life throws serious storms at you. Don't let passion blind you into thinking time will fix immaturity. Time only magnifies it. That is why wise men see conflicts as revelations, not annoyances. You must be decisive. Either you recognize these red flags early, or you will pay with wasted years and broken trust later. Many men, after divorces or heartbreaks, admit that the warning signs were always in the small battles they ignored. Don't repeat their mistake. To understand how to fall in love wisely, you must see love as more than hugs and whispers. You must see it as the ability to endure storms together without destroying each other. A high-value man knows that respect during disagreement matters more than passion during peace. So test quietly, not by provoking drama, but by observing natural reactions. When you stand your ground, does she respect your boundaries? Or does she twist guilt to control you? When you need space, does she grant it? Or does she suffocate you until you give in? These are not minor questions. They are the silent tests of her character. Be bold enough to walk away if you see patterns of manipulation. Don't think tolerance is love. Don't confuse chaos for passion. Don't mistake control for care. A woman who truly values you will fight fair, disagree without disrespect, and make peace without stripping you of dignity. That is the kind of woman worth building a future with. The rest will drain your spirit. Remember, conflict is not your enemy. Immaturity and manipulation are. Master this truth, and you master the art of choosing wisely. Ignore it, and you hand over your freedom. The choice is yours. 8. How she acts when no one is watching. Don't be fooled by the sparkle of charm when the lights are on, because true character lives in the shadows. That is the test every man must learn to pay attention to. A high-value man doesn't just listen to what a woman says when she's whispering love into his ear. He studies what she does when no one is around, when there's nothing to gain, no spotlight to chase, no audience to impress. That is when her truth slips out, raw and unfiltered. If she treats you sweetly but turns cold, rude, or dismissive toward the waiter who brings the meal, the cashier who counts the change, or the cleaner who passes unnoticed, don't dismiss it. Don't excuse it as a bad day. You must recognize that this is not a performance glitch. It's the mask slipping, and it reveals the essence she cannot fake. Be warned. Cruelty to those with less power always signals danger. If she is disrespectful to others but tender with you, what you're seeing isn't love, it's calculation. She respects what she wants to win, but she disregards what she thinks has no value. And if you let yourself ignore that, one day, when her affection no longer benefits her, you will find yourself on the receiving end of that same dismissiveness. Don't wait until you're the waiter in her life. On the other hand, observe the quiet dignity of a good-hearted woman. A woman of real worth doesn't put on kindness like makeup. She thanks the server by name, she smiles at the janitor, she listens with patience to the cashier. Her gentleness isn't selective, it's consistent. That is not performance, it is principle. And that consistency is the hallmark of true feminine grace. That's the kind of woman who nourishes a man's masculine energy, the kind who lifts rather than drains, who makes a man feel that being strong is not a burden, but a blessing. Character doesn't need applause. Don't forget that. Real character is steady, even in silence. When the crowd is gone, when the room is empty, when she believes no one important is watching, who is she then? That is the truest version of her soul. And if you have the eyes to see it, you'll never be fooled by surface charm, by sweet lies, or by glittering moments of romance. A high-value man must always test beyond words. Watch, listen, and most of all, pay attention in the ordinary moments. That's where truth hides. Don't settle for a woman who shines only in public. Be with the one whose inner light burns steady in private, because that is the woman who can stand beside you in storms, in darkness, in failure. That is the woman who will not crumble when the world shakes. Remember, women can impress with beauty, with laughter, with promises, but it is only in silence, when no one is watching, that a man sees the reflection of her real character. That's the psychology trick most men ignore, and that's why they suffer. You must not. A high-value man attracts women not by chasing surface sweetness, but by demanding depth, by guarding his dignity, by refusing to ignore the little red flags that appear in the quiet moments. Gentlemen, let this truth sharpen you. Don't be passive, don't be blind, be deliberate, be discerning, and guard your masculine energy. If you master this silent test, you will not just attract women, you will attract the right woman. And once you do, you will walk with the rare confidence of a man who knows he has chosen not only beauty, but integrity. And that choice will save you years of regret. If you've paid attention this far, you already know the truth. Character is revealed when no one is watching. Don't let charm blind you. Watch the quiet moments. That's where the truth lives. Comment below to lock it in. I will always value true character over empty charm. 9. Her ability to take responsibility. Maturity is not about age, it's about responsibility. And the silent test that reveals a woman's true character lies in her ability to own her mistakes instead of shifting the blame. A genuine woman admits when she has slipped, while a manipulative one makes excuses and points fingers. You, life, circumstances, anyone but herself. Responsibility is the price of greatness, Winston Churchill once said. And in relationships, this truth is iron. If she forgets to pay a bill and says, "I'm sorry I slipped up," that's honesty and humility. But if she says, "It's your fault for not reminding me," That's immaturity disguised as victimhood. During conflicts, can she say, I went too far? Or is she always the victim, leaving you to carry the guilt? Don't ignore this. Don't rationalize it away. A relationship with someone who refuses responsibility becomes a cage, and guilt becomes your jailer. You will constantly feel wrong, constantly feel guilty, constantly question your worth. That is not love, that is control. In contrast, a responsible partner transforms mistakes into stepping stones because every error is an opportunity to grow together, not tear each other apart. Love isn't about perfection, it's about owning flaws, repairing damage, and moving forward as a team. Trust rests on responsibility, and without it, you are standing on sand that will collapse beneath you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Apply this old Stoic wisdom to relationships. You cannot control her excuses, but you can control how you respond to them. If you value yourself, don't stay chained to someone who thrives on blame. You must demand accountability because accountability is the language of true love. That is how Stoicism win. It gives you an iron mind that sees reality for what it is, not what you wish it to be. Don't confuse emotional manipulation for affection. Don't confuse guilt for intimacy. Responsibility is the ultimate act of love because it says, I respect you enough to own my part. Remember, a high-value man does not beg for honesty. He expects it, he lives it, and he walks away when it's absent. With an iron mind, you refuse to be a prisoner of someone else's denial. With old Stoic wisdom, you understand that character is revealed in silence, not in flattery. And with Stoicism win as your foundation, you master life by demanding the same thing from others that you demand from yourself: courage, truth, and responsibility. The victory is not hers or yours alone. It is the triumph of building a relationship on rock instead of sand. Don't settle for less. You must see this test clearly, because once you recognize it, you will never again mistake blame for love. 10. Consistency over time. Time is the final battlefield where love proves itself or falls apart, because consistency over years is the greatest and most brutal of all silent tests, and no amount of charm, beauty, or sweet promises can replace the evidence of time. At the beginning, any woman can appear flawless, texting you endlessly, showering you with affection, laughing at every joke, and making you feel like the center of her world. But the deeper reality is that such perfection is easy to fake in the short term because short bursts of passion require little effort. But living with steady love through the seasons of life requires true character. This is where psychology tricks often play a role. Female psychology is layered with signals, and if you are not observant, you may confuse temporary passion with genuine loyalty. Don't make that mistake. Don't assume that what shines brightly in the first year will shine in the 10th. Be wise enough to step back and watch, because the real question is not whether she can love you in moments of excitement, but whether she can love you in the quiet, repetitive, unglamorous days when real life takes over. That is the test. That is how to fall in love without losing yourself. Think about it. Does she still check on you after years? Or has her care faded into indifference? Does her warmth grow cold once the chase is over? Or does it grow deeper because she has chosen you not for convenience, but for commitment? A woman who is truly consistent, who continues to respect and support you despite routine, financial ups and downs, or moments of weakness, reveals a heart that is authentic. And authenticity is priceless. Manipulation collapses under time, always. A mask can be worn only so long before it cracks. True love, however, grows stronger the longer it is tested, because sincerity doesn't fear the years, it welcomes them. That is why consistency is the ultimate sign of character. Don't be distracted by fireworks, because fireworks impress only for seconds, while steady light guides for decades. Remember what Aristotle said: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The same is true for love. Love is not about grand declarations, endless promises, or moments of passion. It is about the repeated habit of showing up with care, patience, and loyalty day after day. Female psychology reveals itself here. Consistency is a habit of truth. Inconsistency is a habit of deceit. Don't ignore this. You must hold her actions against the clock, not against her words. Be the man who demands not instant beauty, but enduring truth. Modern life makes this test even more urgent. We live in a world of instant gratification, where relationships are often treated like disposable apps, easy to download, easy to delete. That is why men who are serious about love must not be fooled by quick intensity. If you are looking for how to fall in love in a way that lasts, then anchor your choices in consistency, not in charm. Don't allow yourself to be seduced by temporary energy. Instead, respect the rare quality of a woman who remains steady even when the glamour fades. That is where real partnership lives, and that is where the silent test of time becomes your greatest ally. So I tell you this with clarity. Time will always tell the truth. It strips away masks, it breaks illusions, it destroys manipulation, but it also polishes real love into something indestructible. That is why you must watch closely, patiently, without rushing to conclusions. Don't gamble your heart on intensity, invest it in consistency. Don't settle for someone who only loves in sunshine. Choose the woman who walks with you through storms. Because in the end, consistency is not just the ultimate test of her love, it is the ultimate protection of your life, your heart, and your legacy as a man. Brothers, remember this. These silent tests aren't about making you suspicious, they're about making you wise. Real love will never crumble under the weight of truth, because a woman of character doesn't need to act, she simply is. Don't go searching for perfection, that's a fool's game. Instead, seek truth. Truth in her actions, truth in her presence, truth in her ability to stand by you, not for what you provide, but for who you are. Pay attention, not to her promises, but to her patterns. Because if you ignore these signs, you may pay with years you'll never get back. Real love is freedom, not chains. It's not guilt, control, or leverage. It's companionship, safety, and value, even in your weakest moments. My sincere advice to you is this: sharpen your vision. Don't test with traps, test with awareness. A good woman will reveal her truth in silence, without effort. If what I've shared resonates with you, leave a comment. I choose wisdom over illusions. Make that your declaration today, that you will no longer live blind to the psychology tricks hidden behind sweet words. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more men can protect their hearts and find the love they truly deserve. Stay wise, stay strong, and until next time, take care, brothers.